Okay, here we are. Alt.nerd.obsessive. Worst episode ever.
Hey everybody, welcome to Worst Episode Ever, a podcast for people who love The Simpsons, by people who love The Simpsons, about how much we hate The Simpsons. We're here trying to find which is the worst episode ever. And as always, my name is Dan.
And as always, my name is Jack.
Even in 2016, we're back. And Jack, how are you doing? It's a new year. It's a new we.
I'm good. I sneezed yesterday and pulled a muscle in my throat, and it hurts to swallow now.
Yes, you told us that, which is interesting because today we're watching Yokel Chords.
Oh, look at that.
You've hurt your vocal cords. But it is a brand new year. In 2016, we're living in the future. I think we said that when we started 2015.
It is kind of weird. Now I forget. I looked up on IMDb movies that take place in 2016. And I think maybe Dark Knight. Now that might have been a different year, but there was only like 3. It's not a big year. Like 2017 is a big year. I think Blade Runner is 2017.
Wait, Dark Knight takes place in 2016?
I guess because it takes place 7 years after Dark Knight, and I guess Dark Knight for whatever reason took place.
Dark Knight Rises.
Oh yeah, what did I say?
You said Dark. You said Dark Knight and Dark Knight.
I was Dark Knight short for Dark Knight Rises. I don't know. I hope that's not confusing.
Not at all. Not even a little bit. And you call Batman Begins the Dark Knight.
I just call it Buh. And people don't know what I'm talking about.
Very nice.
I really liked Cillian Murphy and Buh.
So what I was going to say to you is that it's a new year. It's going to be a new we. We're going to try and keep it tighter.
Nice and tight,
less
short,
voices.
No tangents about Buh.
Maybe that's not actually going to happen. I thought it would be a nice sentiment to start the year off with. Especially with that really wacky episode last week.
And there's a couple reasons we're doing this. We announced at the top of our Drunken New Year's show, well, not at the top. At the top, we killed DiCaprio.
At the top. Peak voice.
Yeah. No, at the top we announced we're actually We Studios is releasing a new podcast. We're going to be doing a second full-time weekly podcast starting at the end of January.
Yep.
And we'll be doling out information and asking you guys to support and join the social media if you're interested.
A series of clues will unfold about this podcast.
Riddles 3. So now that we're doing 8 episodes a month, we have to pretty much just find time for things.
Right.
As we'll explain our 90s podcast, 90s Percentile is the name of the podcast.
Yes.
And it'll be me and you hosting. It might be more of a panel format, but it'll still be me and you every week.
Right, and we'll be talking about the 90s and then kind of using that as a launching point to talk about other things. And it's going to be a short 1-hour podcast, no editing. Should be good.
Cut none of this, basically.
Yeah, cut none of this is kind of the idea with that one.
So that'll keep that short, but we're also going to try to get this one down. We'll see.
Right,
like you said, we don't know if we can do it.
That's
but we're
the
gonna
idea.
Try.
We're going to try.
You might have noticed our deleted scenes at least have gotten a little bit shorter.
We've had a lot less deleted scenes this past month
because
in
our
December.
recording sessions are getting shorter, but we still can't seem to get our running time down. But we will.
Right. Now that we've explained all that and used up 5 minutes of the podcast, let's get to business, Jack. Today we are going to be watching. What are we going to be watching?
Yokel Chords.
Yokel Chords from season 18. It originally aired March 4th, 2007. Jack, have you seen this episode?
I'm not sure because I thought this was the episode where Bart dates Cletus' daughter, who can sing, and I think it was Zooey Deschanel, but you were just telling me right before we started recording what the episode, there was some guest stars, and it doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, I don't... It's got Meg Ryan in it. I don't know. I've never seen this episode. I really don't know what's going on. We got a guest who we're going to bring in a little bit later. Friends of the show might know him already. His name's Harry Nelson.
He's waving from the peanut gallery.
You can say hi now, Harry. It's fine. All right, we'll introduce you later, Harry. But we're gonna take a break and we're gonna watch Yokel Chords. If you have not seen it, you can do so on SimpsonsWorld.com. You guys know where to get the episodes by now. It's episode 65. We're gonna cut this part short. This is an area that we can cut short. Watch the episode. Just go do it. But one thing we're not gonna cut short, Jack,
is explaining how we're going to cut everything short.
Yes, we're gonna keep doing that throughout the. Okay, so what we're gonna try and do is focus our recordings more. No, WePodcast.com. That's our website. But what you can do there is go to our Amazon click-throughs, click our banners. You guys killed it in December. We had our best month by a lot, by a factor of 10 probably.
Soon we're going to try to buy more equipment. Right now we own one mic. We're borrowing the rest.
Yes.
We might be able to actually just own our own equipment by the end of this month.
We're trying to put on our big boy pants, own our own equipment. We already have the Solid Gold studio, but the equipment is lacking. So please click through WePodcast.com. click our Amazon links and shop like you normally would. And guys, also just tell your friends about the show.
Yeah,
that helps us out a great deal. Tell
And
them there's a 90s percentile
Yeah, if they don't,
podcast coming up.
and if they don't like The Simpsons, and we'll get into this more, but if they, one of the reasons we're doing this is because most of our friends don't listen to our show because they don't like they like The Simpsons, but they don't get anything we're saying.
And we're profoundly unlikable.
Yeah, we are very
that's
unlikable.
the problem.
We are. I've whatever.
All right, so we're going to take a break and watch Yokel Chords.
I have 8 teeth going on 17th. I have a curvy spine. We live on landfill and feast on roadkill while we all drink moonshine. You're better than us.
Look at those dumb hillbillies. I'll bet they don't even know what something is.
So that was Yokel Chords.
It sure was, Jack.
Who suggested this episode, Dan?
This episode, I'm so glad you asked, Jack, because we forgot to do it in the beginning of the show. This episode was suggested by Monica Rita, Corey Lord, Francis Keller, and Linz Sokolow.
Thanks, guys. A lot of
Thanks.
people wanted us to watch this episode. I
Gee,
can see
I wonder why.
Yeah. Before we get into it, let's introduce our guest properly. Welcome, Harry Nelson. He's
Hi, hey, everybody. Hey, what's going on, everybody?
he's been on the show before, friend of the show. We've been on his show. Harry
Yeah.
Says Yes.
Yes.
HarrySaysYes.com, correct?
It's a website. I pay for it every year.
If you want to get Harry Simpson's profile, check out his run. I think it was somewhere in our early
Somewhere
40s.
in like the 30s, 40s, yeah.
So
Good.
check those out. Find out what Harry thinks about The Simpsons, and we're going to find out today what you thought about this specific episode.
Guys, I can't wait. Thanks for having me back. It's
Of
good
course.
to see
You got it, Harry.
Thank you. So, plot recap.
Let's do it.
All right.
Jump right in, Jack. Singing.
Marge sleeps. Should I sing the plot recap in Sondheim counterpoint?
Please don't. For the sake of our listeners.
Marge slept.
James Patterson.
I'm not good enough to keep that up. So Marge sleeps late. Homer fills in and packs the kids' lunch. He does a terrible job. Bart makes up this crazy story about a serial killer of children to scare everybody into running out of school and leaving their lunches on the cafeteria table so he could eat their lunches. So that sends him to therapy. A therapist played by Meg Ryan. And he only gets 5 sessions. He starts to like it, and then when the sessions run out, he kind of misses therapy. So Marge pays to get him one last session where he finds closure in the fact that he ruined his parents' lives, and that's why he acts out. And we'll get into that, I'm
Pretty
sure.
much.
But the main plot of the episode is actually because when Willie rounds up all the students that ran out of the school, he accidentally picks up the Cletus kids, the Spucklers, and they actually don't go to the school. They're homeschooled, and this is where Lisa goes to teach them, and she realizes they can sing, and then Krusty finds this out, and he exploits them, puts them on the show as like a Partridge Family Sound and Music kind of thing going. So he exploits them, and that goes nowhere. Eventually, Brandine comes back and says that Cletus actually couldn't sign their rights because he's not really their father.
Yeah.
And the episode ends. And one big point I left out, of course, is that this entire episode is a musical.
Yes, a lot of Sound of Music parody songs.
So,
Oh, boy.
So that.
Well, where do we begin? Actually, I do want to comment on something you just said. You said the main plot was the Lisa thing, which is probably right, especially since the episode is titled Yokel Chords, which is clearly a reference to that.
And it's a musical.
But man, I hated that plot so much, and I thought the Bart one was so much stronger and better, and sort of was the main plot for a little while.
Yeah, and Bart's, I would say, was stronger and better, but that's like saying, I don't know, like lung cancer.
Poop is better than diarrhea.
Yeah, exactly. That's much better than where I was going.
I don't know where you're going. I'm kind of glad I cut you off there.
It was stronger and better, but I feel like this entire episode was filled with half-formed ideas, and the Bart therapy one. There was a lot. I don't know what we're saying these days. Marrow, bone, lung cancer.
We wanted
there
to
was
bone the cancer.
It needed a lot more pluria on the lungs. Like, what?
No, it's
It's going to be
great.
less wacky in 2016. Well, it sounds like I liked it a little bit more than you did, but we'll get into that. How should we get into this? Let's just really quickly talk about the couch gag real quick. I just want to mention it's Ralph Wiggum walks into the living room, and instead of the couch, there is a vending machine with different Springfieldianites in it. He buys Homer and eats Homer's head.
Yeah.
Yep.
Weird.
Is that a reference to all the action figures they have now? Or then?
Maybe. That children love to eat.
Well, it's Ralph.
Yeah, that's Ralph. I mean, it was cute. What did you guys think? It was just...
Yeah, it's fine. It came and went.
Was neither here
It
nor
was
there.
a post-classic couch gag, and then it went too long.
Yeah.
All right. So then the episode for real starts. It starts off, we see Marge reading James Patterson's Kiss the Girls on a beach.
Yeah.
And she kind of has a little fantasy about James Patterson, and then he comes out on a horse and talks to her.
It's very funny that instead of Fabio, or the hero of the well, I guess you wouldn't want Morgan Freeman either. But or Tyler Perry. But it's funny that she would picture the author, a frumpish middle-aged man.
Right.
That's a funny idea. I didn't like how dumb she was that she says a line, "Oh, it's so convenient how they always solve the mystery before the book ends." It's like, she's
I didn't
not
love that
that
line.
dumb. Come on.
Well, I just think it's funny that Marge, instead of reading fantasy romance books and fantasizing about that, she's reading a thriller and then fantasizing about old James Patterson.
Yeah. No, that was a funny idea. That fits in with her.
That's very Marge.
Marge-esque fantasies of a housewife. She also fantasized about the $6 Million Man and
Right.
Jack Nicklaus.
I like when he comes out. He says, "Marge, help me think of new nursery rhyme-themed titles for my thrillers." What about Little Bo Peep? Of course, and the sheep could be a clue.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute.
Zinger on Patterson. What I really liked is, so this is her dreaming at night, and she wakes up, and the alarm clock wakes her up, and you know how sometimes the alarm clock enters your dream. I like the animation of Patterson's face where he becomes the dinging bell, like his eyes dart
go
back
and forth.
and his tongue is wagging. I thought that was a fun animation.
Yeah, that was cool.
And actually, for the first act, I was really on board with the production. We'll get into why
Me too.
soon.
Yep.
But it was a really strong episode, and then I guess we'll get there. But
We'll get there.
the
It
musical-
doesn't stay strong if
Yeah.
you didn't watch it.
Yeah.
But I actually thought James Patterson, for someone who I think has zero acting history,
Yeah, he did a
was
great
pretty
job.
good.
Yeah. Did a very fine job.
He did better than I think Neil Gaiman wasn't so good, if I remember that episode correctly.
Sondheim did okay in this episode, but and Sondheim's a performer. He's in the industry at least, and I would say Patterson was probably even stronger than him.
Yeah, I think I agree.
You heard me here first. You heard it here first, folks. James Patterson better than Stephen Sondheim.
Performer.
Controversial hot take. Starting 2016 right.
Never mind.
So Marge wakes up and she's late and everything's delayed. She's like, "I gotta get the kids ready for school." Homer says, "Don't worry about it, Marge. I've already taken care of it." There was a line, I'm curious to see what you guys thought of it. She says, "Homer, you got up early to help out." And he's like, "Oh, woke up early, got home at dawn. Either way,
Same diff, he said.
Yeah.
same diff." What'd you think of that?
It's always weird to think of Homer as like a person who's actually out like drinking all night and like stumbling home. Like I think of him as like going out after work and then coming back a little drunk around 10.
Getting affably drunk and coming home. Staying out until like 6, 7 in the morning. It's a different level of alcoholism that I'm comfortable with.
I thought nothing of it. That level of alcoholism, Homer has shown several times before. It's it varies depending on what the episode needs. Sometimes he's functional alcoholic. Sometimes he's whatever. Yeah. So Homer packs their lunches. He goes, "Yeah, I already packed the kids' lunches," and they cut to Bart and Lisa on the bus, and Lisa got a drawing of a sandwich,
which was really fun.
and Bart got Grandpa's pills, and then it was a nice, instead of doing a straight up cutaway to Grandpa, the bus is driving down the street, and Grandpa's on the senior bus, and that bus passes by, so it's like they're doing a cutaway, but they're keeping it in frame. It was a nice little transition, and Grandpa's just driving wildly because he's off his meds, and the seniors are yelling at him, and he goes, "Shut up, pizzas! I gotta deliver you." I like that a lot. That's an amusing way of depicting senility.
I agree.
It's like if you have anybody you're close to and you see them starting to go from Alzheimer's or dementia, just use pizza as a metaphor to make it all better.
Yeah, it's a fine line to tread with Grandpa's senility, but I thought that was funny.
Yeah, so
Cartoony.
Bart gets to the school. He realizes he has no lunch. He's hungry, so he decides he's going to scare the lunches out of all the students.
Before we talk about Dark Stanley and all the story, let's talk about Bart's plan here. First of all, Springfield Elementary has a cafeteria with cafeteria workers who provide food to the students.
Absolutely true.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't usually bring your own lunch.
Like, it's weird. Like, sometimes they do bring their lunch, sometimes they don't.
yeah.
It's like, some days Lunch Lady Doris is there, sometimes she's not. Sometimes they are eating horse testicles, sometimes they have milk.
And we'll get to what his elaborate plan is, but at the end it involves him faking his own death and having spaghetti coming out of his head as if it's his brains. Just eat the spaghetti.
eat
He already
spaghetti.
stole a
Where'd that
bowl of
spaghetti
spaghetti.
He stole spaghetti, made it, maybe, and like put tomato sauce on it.
I like the idea that he made it from scratch. He didn't even boil a box of pasta. He got the eggs, he got the flour, he made the spaghetti.
Going to a lot of work, but it'll be great once I can steal lunch.
Yeah, so besides the fact that it was very easy to just get food.
Yeah.
If you're going to steal the lunches from other students, what an awfully elaborate
Very
plan.
elaborate.
And then the idea that he seemingly came up with it on the spot. He was
Yeah.
just like, oh, I know what I'll do. This 13-step plan.
I actually thought that was good for Bart's storyline in this episode, which is, you have to go see a psychiatrist because that is a crazy thing
That's
to
a good
do.
point. That's a good point.
I actually thought that worked.
Did they really? But they didn't really bring that up, did they?
They sort of did, because Skinner was like, no, you got to go to a psychiatrist after this.
Well, it was like, you're behind this. I just know you're behind this. You're going to see this.
Yeah, right.
But like being behind an elaborate prank, which Bart has always done, that's not the best reason. Like,
Maybe
what
I'm
you're
reading
saying,
into it that it
what
was
you're-
a crazy plan.
No, like that's a great point. I wish they would have brought that up, where they were just like, like we have a lunch lady. Why didn't you do this? That would have made it Bart seem that much more crazy in the context of the universe of Springfield.
Right.
Then you could go, oh, that's why they sent him to therapy.
Yeah.
Like lunch lady Doris would have given him food.
Yeah, but meanwhile, he would preferred to do this.
Maybe it's one of those
Crazy
things where
passport.
the psychiatrist is in some weeks and the cafeteria is.
Yeah, but they trade off.
They trade off. They can only afford one.
Well, speaking of,
knowing Springfield, they
we see the school has a psychiatrist, and they mentioned her.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And she runs out, and it's a completely different character than it used. It
It's
used
not
to be
Lauren
J. Lauren
Pryor,
Pryor. Yeah, the guy with the blue hair who
Yeah.
we've seen. We even saw him in some recent-ish episode.
we
I don't
did.
remember what it was, but
Yeah, no,
I thought that was weird. Just
Why
weird
create this new
anti-continuity.
character? Yeah.
Is that a thing? Anti-continuity?
Oh, absolutely. And then he goes to a completely separate psychiatrist later in the episode.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because Meg Ryan's around, you
That's
gotta
true.
put her to work.
I,
I'll have what she's having, boys.
when you say Meg Ryan's around, it makes it like sound like she's just like out on the bus stop, not our bus stop, the LA bus stop, and she's just like doing voices and hoping somebody will pay her. So Bart's elaborate plan, since if you haven't watched the episode and we've been talking about it and we haven't actually told you what it is, he creates this story called Dark Stanley, one of those childhood urban legend myths. About a school cafeteria worker who was made fun of or something, and he kills all the children. He makes soup out of their heads.
It's basically Nightmare Cafeteria from the Halloween episode.
And it scares the children because it's this adult figure who kills children.
Right.
The way they depict Bart's story, when Bart tells the story, is really cool.
Very cool.
They use a different animation format. It's like a pencil
Like a
sketch.
cross-hatching pencil,
Yeah.
like a children's storybook, kind of like a scary stories to tell in the dark almost type
definitely.
thing.
And it goes along with this this music, which was like a kind of upbeat French noir type of music, like the kind of music you would hear in those classic weird horrors. It's hard to explain. But it fit perfectly.
Yeah.
And it was just a really nice little respite from post-classic Simpsons to have this they've been experimenting in the later seasons in the couch gags with different animation styles. It was nice to see it in the context of an episode.
Yeah, and it was a nice change of pace, a different animation, which you don't usually see. It was also very grisly for a non-Halloween episode.
There was some blood.
There was a lot of blood
splatter.
There were a man holding severed children's heads.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons they might have even came up with the idea in the first place to do a different animation style, because having it this extra cartoony made it okay that the blood is splattering. Like if you kept
it's
this
not Simpsons cartoony.
Yeah.
It's a different cartoony style, so it's not as real in this world.
Right. I mean, you could certainly in the Halloween episodes they do use the Simpsons style for these gruesome things, but it wouldn't have fit here.
But those are special event type episodes.
It softened the blow. It's kind of like how supposedly in Kill Bill Volume 1 that big sword fight at the end is in black and white because the blood was gruesome it would have been NC-17 otherwise. I don't know if that's true or not because it seems like it was just a stylistic choice, but if it is, that makes sense. They do make things black and white sometimes to kill the gruesome. Also, I don't know if you notice when you watch movie trailers, sometimes in the movie they have like bloods on their clothes or whatever, blood stains. In the trailer, it's always black. It's like dirt.
Oh yeah, I have seen that.
So
Gotta clean up the violent movie.
Even if this animation style was functional, it was great. It was probably the best part of the episode, right?
It was,
It
and
worked really well. Sorry, the music was really cool too. The way they would bring it in and out of the episode when Dark Stanley would come up, it was really effective.
Yeah, they brought
Definitely.
the animation, that French music was throughout the rest of the episode. At least those, like you said, those Dark Stanley scenes. That was great that they brought it back. I feel like I've actually heard that music before on The Simpsons. I was wondering if it's a theme from another similar toned scene or sequence, but it sounded familiar.
I think it was new to me, but maybe I just
feel like
blocked it out.
they've used it in other whimsical homicides.
That's what James Patterson is famous for. Whimsical homicides.
Ooh, there's a...
Whimsical homicide. That should be the name of a Simpsons episode.
Yeah, not this podcast.
There's the opening.
I'll
couch
save that
gag
for next
was
New Year's.
Homicide.
What?
Ralph committed.
Oh
the
yeah,
homicide.
Ralph
Oh, yeah.
committed homicide.
Ah, that's
Guys,
good.
It's all full circle.
Yeah.
Harry connecting the dots.
Slowly and quietly, yes.
I don't know why you guys missed this in the audio land, but my hand motion for connecting the dots was drawing dots. It was the opposite.
But like big space dots.
There's got to be a word for that, like onomatopoeia or something. There's got to be or spoonerism. There's got to be a word for when you do hand motions depicting the opposite of what you're trying to depict. There's got to be a word for that.
We'll just call it Piconing.
Sure, that's better than Santorum. I'll take it.
That is very true. Okay, so yeah, this episode was going very well.
Yeah.
And I really like the Dark Stanley
Yeah, he
stuff.
scares that the Dark Stanley is great, and it works. The kids are scared, and they run out of the school.
They take what Bart says and kind of keep building on it. Like, there's a little montage of like Milhouse telling other people and Nelson telling other people.
Yeah, it wasn't funny. There was a line about footy pajamas, but it makes sense story-wise.
I kind of liked when Nelson is telling Dolph and Jimbo and the other bullies, and he's like, he flays children and takes their skin and turns it into pajamas, and Dolph just goes, nobody pajamates my skin. I just liked this verb to make pajamas. You pajamanate someone.
Yeah, it's a decent verb.
I thought I liked it. I thought I liked it. I thought I liked it, and you know what? I did. I did.
I'm glad you're on.
I'm coming to terms.
Dan is on the pulse of Dan.
You heard it here first. I thought I liked it, and it turns out I did.
I like the propulsion. It was very well edited. Like I like the idea of the story getting bigger and bigger. It didn't make me laugh. I noticed late in the episode while we were all just quietly taking notes how quiet the room was. Like nobody was laughing at anything.
After the first act.
I chuckled a couple times maybe, but it was a particularly unfunny episode. But maybe, so the Dark Stanley, I said, was probably my favorite part of the episode because it was so nice.
Yep.
I think the funniest part of the episode came right after. So the students finally do build up this fear, and they run out of the cafeteria when Bart fakes his death with the spaghetti. And they cut to Chalmers and Skinner outside. And this was a typical Chalmers-Skinner scene of the school going crazy and when Chalmers is there. I think this scene was executed perfectly. It was not different at all, but it didn't need to be. Like you knew exactly what was going to happen. They're carrying a big glass box full of Chalmers antique cologne bottles, which Skinner says, "I would imagine these are replaceable." Well, you would imagine correctly. Yeah. He goes. So I mean, every part this would have fit in a classic season. It was perfect. Chalmers. Every part of it worked. Like you said, if you're gonna pick something fragile, like walking across the street with a plate of glass or something, antique cologne. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then the reason they were moving it was perfect. It was because Chalmers was recarpeting his condo.
Right.
And then, Skinner saying, I would assume these are priceless. And Chalmers saying, you assume correctly. And the delivery, it was all perfect. And then the students come smash all the
Right, and of course everything breaks.
Yeah. It was perfection.
What'd you think, Harry?
Perfection.
Great.
If you would have said you didn't like it, that would have been it.
That would have been the end of you.
I liked it, and I was pretty sure I did.
You would not leave the studio alive, my friend.
That's what we do now in 2016. We threaten our guests.
We kill our guests. We don't like their opinions. So come on back.
Where's Bryce been?
Dan, Ozzy, and Bryce.
He shouldn't have denied that Marge joke.
Yeah.
Just fill in the blanks. You know where I'm going.
Bryce is dead, and we buried him.
We killed Bryce because he disagreed with us.
I hope Bryce doesn't die between the recording of this episode and the release of this. I hope Bryce doesn't die in general, because I like him.
Yeah, I'd have to put this in the deleted scene.
Yeah. So you would still release it.
Yeah, I mean, we recorded it.
Oh, yeah, it's still funny.
We put the effort in.
Bryce isn't dead that we know of, in case the police unearth this later. That we know of.
Unearthing? You mean the police aren't listening to our show every week? I just picture them in the precinct eating donuts, listening to we.
Eating their fat donuts because the police are fat.
Just shooting innocent people while listening to the Simpsons, while listening to worst episode ever.
Oh man, the police got a way worse stereotype after that. Like, they just eat donuts and now.
The next protest in Chicago, they're going to see the signs. Stop listening to we. That's the worst offense.
That's what you're doing. You're spending taxpayer time listening to podcasts about The Simpsons.
But we love the police. We support them. I can't even say it with a straight face.
I don't know if this is...
Most of my family is cops, too.
I don't know if this is getting cut or if this is staying
They're good people. We're just making fun of the bad apples. Just like the show.
Yeah.
This is a podcast about people who love the police. For people who love the police. About how much we hate the police.
It's funny because it's horrible.
It's horrible. It sums it up perfectly.
Because the country is falling apart.
When is President Trump been elected yet? Oh, no. Not that. We got a year, right?
I hope not. Anyway, the kids all destroy the cologne bottles, and kind of there's a montage of Willie wrestling all the kids back up. Did you guys like that?
They say, Willie, go get the kids, and he goes, dead or alive? And they go, no, alive, of course. And he goes, oh, you never let Willie be Willie.
Yeah.
Is Willie being Willie murdering children? Is that what Willie wants to do?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think
it seems like it.
he should join the police, if you ask me. So there's a montage of Willie wrestling up all the kids. It's very, I don't know if it was a specific thing, but it felt very Old West to me.
A reference to something?
I don't know.
Transitions even had, he was going around and pulling the scene across.
It felt like a very old, John Wayne kind of Western montage. Because he lassos the kids. It's very old-timey Western music.
Transitions going on.
Yeah.
It was fine.
I thought it was a little cute
laugh.
little montage.
Yeah,
it wasn't very funny, but it was cute. So Willie wrestles up all the kids, and they count everyone back, and somehow he also rustled up
the Spucklers.
Willie's kids, Cletus's kids, the Spuckler family, who have fallen in numbers since the last time I've seen them. There were 25 children at one point. Now there's only 6.
All right, we might as well talk about this now. So
Let's do it. We might as well.
The difference between the Spuckler Kids in the post-classic era and the pre-classic era. And yes, obviously the numbers have gone way down. Mm-hmm. My biggest issue was the names. This is a little bit later than we are right now in the plot, but they list off their names.
They were not very funny.
They were not funny, and I think this really is one of those moments that I love when we come across, because it highlights just what's different about, people give us shit sometimes, or not us specifically, but anybody who criticizes New Simpsons in general. They say, oh, you just don't like it because it's new.
Right.
And this is one of those.
This is a teachable moment.
This is one of those
for
teachable
those
moments
assholes.
About there's moments where you can put your finger on and go, this is different from before.
Yeah.
So that first scene, what episode is that? When the pretzel episode?
Yes, it's the pretzel episode.
They have
Season
the
8.
free pretzel coupon, and he's got 300.
Twisted World of Marge.
Should have said limit 1 per customer. Shoulda but didn't.
Shouldn't but didn't.
So he lists all his kids, and they all come out, and their names were a lot more subtle. It was they were still kind of hickish.
Well,
the joke was that
it starts off as Tiffany, Heather. It's normalish names, and then he gets to Cubers.
Yeah. But even
sillier.
Tiffany and Heather, there's plenty of normal people with those names. But you could also go, oh,
I've never met them.
I could see people with those names. It was just the right amount of that makes sense.
Right.
So some of the names in this season 18, there was W. Which is okay. That's fine.
That's not bad, especially.
There's another one I like. The last kid goes birthday.
Yeah, birthday.
Birthday's a funny name. Much more over the top than Tiffany or Cubert.
Right.
But then there was names incest, crystal meth, and international harvester.
Yeah.
Again, compare that to Dylan, Dermot, Jordan, Taylor. So first of all, also. All right, so first reason, the difference between new and old episodes, the names are just over the top. Come on, incest.
Incest was ridiculous.
It's not even trying. It's
just those are things that hillbillies like hacky jokes.
A couple episodes ago, we brought up the concept of the doomsday process, the idea of killing your script and rewriting it and killing it and rewriting it until it's stronger than ever.
And then kill Superman.
And then kill Superman at the end. Imagine if you did that with this scene, where you just kept trying to come up with better names. You would go over them, and you're like, you know what? This after the 30th time, you're like, this one's not that funny.
Right.
Imagine how great that would be. That's probably what they did in season 8.
Probably.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is the joke, the essence of the joke. In the season 8, the joke wasn't their names. It was kind of a combination of Cletus's delivery, Hank Azaria's delivery, just saying the names in a monotone,
and
then them all filing out.
Like, how
one
many
by
kids does he have?
Yeah.
It's like a Rick gag kind of thing.
And
it's
they're
just how
filing
long
out one by
go.
one. The visual of them all like lining up like a school photo.
Right.
It all came together. The names was not, if not the icing on the cake, just like it was like a layer in the.
But it was also a character joke because the whole thing was that Marge was giving them a pretzel coupon, and that they were all going to have free pretzels. And like, oh my God, Marge is going to have to give out like 30 pretzels now.
Right. So right there, and then here the only joke is how funny their names is, how silly their names is.
Right.
So
How dumb are these hillbillies? Right. They named their kid Incest.
So you can see just right there the level of joke craft right there. It's just how simpler and dumber it is. And even like so when they do finally go over the top, you have Cubert and like Rumor and Scout in season 8. Right. Even that's like Rumor and Scout is Bruce Willis and Demi Moore's
Right.
kids.
Exactly. That's funny.
Even that's a lot more subtle than incest and crystal meth.
Yes. But basically, the moment that Cletus's kids show up. There was an interesting kind of back and forth with Chalmers, and then Lisa shows up.
Yeah, they say why aren't they don't want to incorporate the kids into the school when they find out they're homeschooled because it would lower test scores. They'd lose their federal funding. They already lost their city, state, and municipal funding.
Right.
Even the bake sale, people just ate the cookies and didn't pay for them. And then Mr. Chalmers goes, "Yeah, we're not good at anything."
Not good at anything. I like that line actually.
So Lisa.
But yeah, Lisa comes up. Well, I thought that was actually a pretty decent idea for an episode because I thought what was going to happen is Cletus's family was going to come to Springfield Elementary, and I was like, oh, we're going to see like how these bumpkins.
Yeah. It's kind of like how the Cullens joined the high school in Twilight. They're 100-year-old vampires. Why are they going to high school every year? It's silly. They don't fit in. They're their own clique.
I don't know anything about Twilight. I know Edward Cullen is the vampire in Twilight.
They play baseball.
Best scene in the movie. Yeah. Best scene in the movie.
How many Twilight movies have you seen, Jack? And you too, Harry, for that matter.
I want to say 3.5.
Interesting. There's only 4,
That's
right?
5.
There's 5? Oh, because they split up the fourth one into 2?
That's what you do now. You split up the last book.
Yeah.
You seem like you know a lot more than you...
I'm familiar with the movies. Okay.
What did you think of scene 32B in Twilight New Moon?
Is that the one where Taylor Lautner takes his shirt off?
Oh, yeah. You know it.
Well, I know it. I know it, bro.
Bro, give me some Parmesan, because I'm going to grate that cheese on those hams, bro. And then I'm going to sprinkle it on some spaghetti, bro. And then I'm going to make a spaghetti dinner for Taylor Lautner. Get him drunk on some red wine, and I'm going to rape him, bud. Bro.
Did you say his butt?
Yeah, I did, bro.
You're going to rape a butt?
Yes, bro.
Get a frosty chocolate milkshake.
Bro.
I don't know why we started talking about Twilight, but my point was I thought that's where the episode was going to go, and I was like, oh, that'll be interesting. And instead what happens is Lisa comes out and kind of harangues Skinner and Chalmers about why don't they go to the school, and they say we can fumper all day. They kind of give her like, why
can't we do this? Yeah, blah, blah. And I was like, at first I was like, that's not funny. But I actually like that they call it out, and Chalmers like, we can fumper all day.
That was okay.
That's funny.
And then Lisa just kind of wanders off, and then things got real bad because Skinner and Chalmers, they say, let's sing while we think about this.
Yeah.
And they start singing. I don't even remember what the actual song was.
About
it was a parody of How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria.
I mean, this is not the first time this has happened to us on this podcast.
Yeah.
Where we're watching an episode and
it's like, surprise musical.
Maybe we're not as into it as we were this time. Maybe we were. I don't really remember. But yeah, the musical just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like a serial killer. It's just like it's like one of those weird first act twists. like when what's her face gets stabbed in the shower and Psycho's like, no, this is a musical episode.
What have I done?
And then for Chalmers to be the culprit, for Chalmers to be the one that goes.
We trust Chalmers so much. He turned on us.
He's the least likely person to go, why don't we sing about this? If anything, it would be Skinner and Chalmers going, well, this seems unnecessary.
I agree. That's a great point.
I was so heartbroken. I was like, oh man, this is going to have a great production score with Stanley.
I was like, why did so many people suggest this episode? So far, so good. And then, no fault to them. They looking back now, they did actually say it was a musical. The songs are terrible. So you guys did no wrong.
And they know us. They have their finger on the pulse of Dan.
I think I don't like musical episodes.
Well, they agree.
Okay.
Thanks for you listeners.
You guys know me better than I know myself.
Have you guys seen the musical this is parodying?
The Sound of Music.
Yeah.
I've seen it like way back when I was a kid.
I've never seen it. I knew what it was a parody of, but I don't.
I mean, the 3 songs, I would say they're probably the most famous songs in The Sound of Music that they parodied here.
Well, they didn't do Do a Deer, did they?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So.
No, they didn't. They did Favorite Things.
So 3 of the most popular songs.
You would think Do a Deer seems like it would be one of those easy ones to parody.
Well, they did have in season 8 again. There was the line where Homer hits a deer and goes doe, and Lisa says a deer, and then Marge goes a female deer. Yeah. That was a great moment.
Great, yeah.
Let's just talk about episodes we liked much better than this one. In season 8, the Homer They Fall.
That's not what your podcast
Homer They Fall might be my favorite season 8. I was thinking about it. Well, I mean, like you got the classics, like you got
I go
twice,
and you got twice, yeah.
And you got the Johnny Cash episode.
Oh yeah.
But just something about the Homer They Fall that just gets me every time.
The Homer They Fall is a funny episode, but that was definitely one of the ones where it was starting to get more wacky.
Yeah, they got wacky in season 5.
It did. All right, we don't look.
This
is
not
here to talk
Simpsons
about
show. This isn't talking about Simpsons podcast. What is it? Talking about podcast?
Don't plug other podcasts on our show. We are the only Simpsons podcast
Stop
out there.
talking about these 90s Simpsons episodes.
Yeah, that's for other guys in another room, another solid gold studio, doing another show. So anyway, what happens is it's going to be Lisa is tutoring the children. She's basically filling the what the fuck is her name from Sound of Music? Maria.
Julie Andrews.
It is Julie Andrews, right?
Yeah.
But the character's name is Maria something.
Maria Von Trapp.
Maria Menounos, that was it.
Oh, yeah.
That was from Entertainment Tonight.
How do you know that?
She's a very attractive woman.
She used to be on Channel 1. Did you guys watch Channel 1 in school?
I did watch Channel 1 in
she
school. I
was
didn't know she was on
Yeah,
it.
that was like where I first heard her.
No idea who you guys are talking about.
Maria Menounos.
I know. I mostly know her from
You're gonna
wrestling,
be shit
to be
about
honest with you.
Twilight and you're bringing up Entertainment Tonight.
She's a journalist
Is that even
and
still
TV
on?
That's where
personality.
we learned everything about
Maria Menounos, you've probably seen her.
She's all right.
She's all right.
She's a Celtics fan. I don't appreciate that.
I'm sorry. In this, so I Google image searched Maria Menounos and showed it to Jack. There's probably about 30, 35 pictures here of a very beautiful woman, and you notice a Celtics jersey in the bottom right.
I have face blindness. Honestly, I didn't want to say anything. All I saw was the word Celtics.
Is that all you see every day?
I just wanted to pretend I knew what I was. Yes, I see that. The only reason I know it's Harry right now is because he wears a shirt that just says Harry on it.
Yeah, you asked me to wear this shirt.
I do appreciate it.
James Patterson.
Come with me, Marge. Help me think of new nursery rhyme themed titles for my thrillers.
Ooh, how about Little Bo Peep?
That's great. A clue could be her sheep.
All right, so yeah, basically this is this. We'll just talk about this Lisa plot first before we move on to Bart.
Let's do it.
It basically runs like a Sound of Music parody, I guess, in that Lisa realizes the kids can sing, they become a musical act.
Krusty comes over and hears them singing, and I did not care for this moment when they say, "Oh, you're a funny guy with a big nose. You mean a clown? No, a Joker."
Yeah, yes.
That was not good.
Like Krusty as a self-hating Jew is one thing. Krusty as
a hillbilly as a saying like you're a funny Jew.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah,
I don't like
especially
that.
if it's a kid or is it Cletus?
Yeah, it was one of the Cletus' kids.
No, it's
And then having Krusty stop
That's
it.
pushing the line. That seems like one of those Family Guy jokes where we've never really quite touched on our opinions on Family Guy. But to simplify it in 3 words, hit or miss. And those are one of those tasteless Family Guy jokes that I would hate, and it was even worse to see it on The Simpsons.
Yeah, no, I didn't care for that. What did you think, Harry?
That's a bit of a bummer. I guess they're trying to be like, oh, these hillbillies sure do. And like the way Krusty came in and diffused it was at least better than if it had just...
Wouldn't it
have been funnier if, I know this is more kids than hillbilly kids, I guess because they don't have a TV. But wouldn't it be funny if they thought he was the Joker or something like that? And
That could have been something.
They kick him in the nuts. That's for trying to kill Batman. I don't know.
Well,
at least it's not anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
The bar's low.
Stop trying to shove Batman into everything, Jack. You got the Dark Knight.
That's what she
Dark
said.
Knight, and the third Dark Knight.
That's what he should have called it. The third Dark Knight.
The third Dark Knight.
I'm excited. Did you hear Christopher Nolan's new movie is going to be Batman in World War II? It's gonna be awesome.
It is. I'll see it.
Batman versus Hitler. It's called.
I would see the shit out of a movie Batman versus
Directed by
Hitler.
Christopher Nolan.
Hell yeah.
Boom.
Batman
That's
just
a
punches
joke.
Hitler in the face. I'm into it.
Not Captain America.
Get Captain America in there too. Batman and Hitler team up against Captain America. Wait a minute.
You got that mixed up. You got that mixed
No,
up.
that's a very good movie also.
I guess.
Maybe Ben Affleck Batman
It's gonna make a lot of us have
horribly
to choose
racist.
sides.
I'm
for
sure Batman has his reasons for teaming with Hitler. Like, he must know something.
It was actually under his undercover guys, Matches Malone. He was just going undercover with the Nazis so that he could take him down from the inside.
He got in too deep and he just had to stay by Hitler's side to avoid being caught. It's gonna be a good movie.
I don't know. I don't think it can.
Your face right then was just the pain. Like, oh, Batman and Hitler. What's happening?
I'm just living my future self when I'm editing this episode and like going to be tortured about, do I leave this in? What do I do?
We can leave it in. If you're listening to it,
That's what she said.
wasn't this fun?
That's what she said.
Krusty's
Okay.
eyes.
Krusty's eyes. That's one thing I want to
Oh,
bring
yeah.
up that I actually liked is Krusty hears these kids singing and he gets dollar signs in his eyes and he's like, finally an excuse to use these novelty contact lenses, and he takes them out.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
So, did you notice how gigantic the contact lens case
Yes.
was?
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever seen a contact lens case in the Simpsons universe, and considering how big their
Yeah,
eyes
they
are,
got big eyes.
it kind of makes sense. So it's kind of weird how, despite the colors being different, you can really picture the Simpsons universe being the same as the regular universe.
Right.
But like there must be subtle differences. For one thing, they wouldn't probably say high five; they would say high four. And then also must have really big medicine cabinets because where do you put the contact lens cases?
Have they ever said high
must
four
have
on The
said
Simpsons
high
or high
five.
five at some point?
I don't know.
I'm gonna do a quick Google.
What are you gonna Google?
Simpsons high five.
right.
Let's see what comes up.
What's that Celtics jersey doing there?
Nope.
It must be a thing they've just actively not done because they know it would bring up too many.
You'd think they'd like slip up, but if they're doomsdaying it, they wouldn't.
I've got images of people doing high fives on The Simpsons, or high fours, I suppose.
Of course, the internet has that.
Yeah, including Milhouse and some character I've never seen before. Donnie?
Bart.
Oh, that's Bart! Okay, it's Maria Menounos. But here's something I wanted to bring up. Lisa kind of comes out at Krusty Studios when Cletus is reviewing the contract and is like, I don't know, is this the best thing for your kids? What do you guys think of that? Because why is she there? And B, is it her place to say that? Like,
Well, Lisa's known for stepping
Lisa,
out of
Lisa
her
butts
place.
in, I got a lot. That's true. I guess it's her character.
No.
I just felt like she's the tutor. Why does she care about this?
It doesn't quite make sense.
Well, she seems to have later they miss like a reading assignment and she's upset about that. I think
Right, that makes more sense.
She's kind of become their guardian,
I guess.
or at least looking out for them.
I think the biggest problem with this storyline is just that there's not enough beats. I don't really see why Lisa cares that much about these kids. Like, we don't really even see her teaching them. It's just this montage of taking them to the movies and the bookstore.
An emotional
Right,
connection.
like, I don't know why Lisa cares, I guess is the problem.
That's a really good point. Whereas I think Sound of Music does a good job setting that up.
It does. Let's rewatch Sound of Music right now.
Wow,
Wow,
it's
it's
good,
such a good job of setting
I like the
everything
episode a
up.
lot
I was a
more.
little confused when Batman punched Hitler in the face.
While singing, too. How do you solve a problem like the Hitler?
Where to punch in the face? Where did you get those hockey pants? Thank you!
People don't know that Hitler wore hockey pants all throughout World War II.
Oh, they know. They
Up
teach
until
that-
the bunker.
They teach that in school.
He took them off at the bunker, so they wouldn't get dirty when he shed his pants. You shit your pants when you die.
I was wondering what you're talking about.
I was talking about the fact that when you die, you will shit your pants.
That's enough Hitler talk for 2016. We hit our quota.
We used it all up in the first episode.
Yeah,
God.
it's gonna be a tough 51 weeks.
Another song that they sing is when they're actually on the Krusty show, the Spuckler Kids. One of the girls comes out and says, I have 8 teeth going on 7 teeth.
I like that.
I hated
I know
it.
you did.
I hated it.
If you're gonna do a spoof of Going on 17, that's a funny way to do it with Hillbilly Kids, I guess.
Harry,
I
what
heard
do
you
got?
make an upset noise.
That's why I do. Yeah, he made a very audible.
I think as
I
far
make
as,
that noise a lot before we start recording.
That's the noise you make when you die. And you shit your pants.
That's right.
when the
Now, wait a minute, all the Hitler stuff has to stay in now.
No!
when the first song played, there was just like you guys
Yeah.
let out such a sad noise.
It was just, the room was just deflated. It was just like, oh.
We Studios is kind of like the TARDIS. It has an emotional connection to me and Dad. Where it kind of our tone. Maybe TARDIS is the wrong metaphor. Maybe it's more like a mood ring.
Yes.
Maybe it's only solid gold when we're in a good
Right
mood.
now it's jet black.
Yeah. I can only tell. I can't even see. I just see the glow in the dark Harry on Harry's T-shirt.
We're gonna buy Harry a T-shirt.
Says
That
Harry,
glows in the dark.
glow
It
in
says
the dark.
Harry.
Guys, click through on Amazon.
Yes.
If
If we get enough money, we'll buy you a T-shirt.
After we buy microphones. And
Yeah.
stuff.
After all that stuff we
It's a
need.
priority, but
Yeah.
So you want to get our fuller opinion on why we hate musicals in general, why we have a knee-jerk reaction to musicals and Simpsons? Listen to our earlier episodes. You can probably start with episode 1, Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, that's right.
So we've gone over why we don't like them. Real quick, this one highlights those reasons. At least one of the songs, if not most of them, were literally less than 60 seconds long. It was just like, it feels like there's like, all right, this is a musical episode. Time for a musical number, and they just kind of do it because they have to, or they feel they have to, because they don't have to. If you listen to Simpsons writers, you don't have to. Please stop.
Don't have to do a musical episode.
But yeah, it seems so half-assed. Like,
It does.
what's the point of a musical number if it's less than 60 seconds? It's
Right.
unless that's a joke, which they did. I think Lisa starts singing before she falls off a cliff.
Right.
They've done it in other episodes. That's fine, I guess, if it works. But if you're doing a full-on musical number and it's just like you're not even trying, you got the musical numbers build up to a thing. And there's a whole connection with the audience. You get into it. There's bridge, chorus. It's a whole thing. It's a whole art form.
It is a whole thing. And in this episode specifically, they clearly didn't have enough meat to do a full-on Sound of Music parody because it's paired with this Bart plot that I thought was a lot better.
This seems to be one of those cases where it's split them up into two separate episodes. If anything.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I'm sure these. I mean, I'm not sure because I'm not in the writer's room, but I would think that these started as two separate plot threads that they were just like, let's just combine them because we can't really make a full episode out of either of them.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't make a full episode out of it, maybe don't do the Sound of Music parody.
Yeah, that's a great point. So they go on. There's a scene where they're on the show on Krusty. And they're singing about how they're hillbillies. And this is where what you were talking about before, where Lisa says, that this is the...
This show perpetuates stereotypes that all country folk are hicks.
Or all yokels. She might have even said all yokels.
Yeah, maybe it was yokels.
Yeah.
You're right.
So I'm trying to figure out, what is this episode trying to say? Are they trying to say it's wrong to stereotype yokels and not call them all hicks? And then that's when this thought hit me. Because there's a line that I think is really important where one of the kids in the song says, "You're better than us," which was really mean-spirited. And that got me thinking, okay, what are they trying to say? And this was, 2007 this aired?
Yeah, I think so.
This was like when Jersey Shore was really big and all these other types of reality shows, Bad Girls Club, all those horrible, awful shows where we've made millionaires out of awful people for doing awful things. And it's one of the most disgusting things about American culture. Second maybe to... No, I would say Trump is second to that. So no, I really hate those shows. But I was wondering, maybe they were trying to say... This is why these shows are popular. You watch them because you know you're better than them, and it gives you this sense of superiority. And I was like, I could see that connection. I made that connection, but that seems way too subtle for the Simpsons writers to be doing, especially because it's such. If you're making that connection culturally, it's such two different completely things. A reality TV of the early 2000s versus Sondheim and Sound of Music parody.
I mean, I don't think it was reality TV specific. It seemed just more general, like, there's always this popular conception, the stereotype of like the hick yokel who's like inbred and doesn't know anything. So you think it was
specifically about? I see. I'm zeroing in more in the idea
because
of
I don't remember any.
Watching.
There were no reality shows that were like focused on like Midwest hillbillies. There's like Honey Boo Boo.
There was
more
after
recently.
This point. I don't. That's what I'm saying is that's why I don't. I think I'm giving the writers too much credit. I don't think this connection is there. I think I'm making it up.
I think it was a broader point that they just completely whiffed.
But the idea of people getting entertainment out of watching people quote unquote lesser than them because it makes them feel quote unquote better than them.
Right.
I feel like
There's
there's
something to
something
that.
there, but I can't tell if the Simpsons writers were trying to say something like that or if it's just a coincidence.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems of this episode is that I have no idea what they're trying to say.
Exactly. If this was the full
Like,
episode and they spent time with the other scenes, maybe they would have informed.
You're
whatever
having
they're trying
Lisa
to
say this thing that, you're just perpetuating stereotypes, but the entire episode is just perpetuating stereotypes.
I think that it's there. I think well, Homer says that line is like I bet they don't even know what something is.
Yeah, right.
So it's like I think that is the point. It's like we're watching all these shows and feeling better about all these people, but like really we're just as dumb for watching these shows.
We're all
as they are.
dummies.
But it's just like that. It's in there for like
I'm
one.
a genius.
You're a genius.
You're a genius. We know that, but
it's in there for like 30 seconds of the whole thing of like them making this point, and then everything else is just like them doing dumb parodies of.
It's
songs.
the name. My kid's name is Incest and Crystal Meth. Just like, what is this? Why this? Why are we doing this? You didn't have to do this.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I mean, it would have been. I don't know if they've done that. I'm sure they've done a reality TV parody at some point. Maybe not an episode-centric one. Maybe just dumb gags. But I feel like that would have been some. Because it's such a. I really feel like making millionaires out of like Snooki and the situation and all those people. Is such
They're not millionaires anymore. If that makes you feel any better.
But it is just such a mistake as a culture. That I feel like it's such a significant mistake that Simpsons should do at least one episode about it. I hope they did. But, But I doubt it. I doubt, and even if they did, I'm sure they did a bad job and they just made fun of the superficial stuff instead of the heart of the problem.
They also showed Cletus being like using all the money that he gets from his kid's success to like he's like wearing a pimp outfit and
monster truck.
And he buys a solid gold hound dog, and then he says, "How do we get the dog out?" And you hear like a whimper of a dog. I don't like that at all as a dog
Think about
lover.
this though. The dog at least is still alive, unlike Geach, who was trapped in cement and was also Cletus's dog.
He gone to doggy heaven, Mr. Terwilliger.
That's not the line.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it just Geach gone to heaven, Mr. Terwilliger?
Terwilliger. He doesn't say the name right.
He doesn't say it right?
Yeah. I think. Write in and tell us. Or we just watch
He doesn't say doggy heaven. I think he just says heaven. Geach gone to heaven.
He's gone to heaven. Yeah, you're right.
Doggy Heaven is the Burt Reynolds movie and Dom DeLuise.
Is it really a movie called Doggy Heaven?
All dogs go to heaven.
Oh,
okay.
I was really bored at work on New Year's Eve, and I was like looking up old computer DOS games I could play on Flash, and I found All Dogs Go to Heaven. I was like, I didn't play it, but I was like, well, that would be an interesting video game to play. It's like, hey, I'm a dog, I'm dead.
and you're doing this at work on New Year's Eve. Yeah. What a strange confluence of events.
I guess we should real quick bring up Stephen Sondheim's guest spot.
Oh, yeah, I forgot completely about him.
I don't know. I'm not a musical guy. I don't really know much about him. I seem to, the musicals I have seen in the movies based on his musicals, I seem to like. I kind of like his style.
I like Sweeney Todd.
And I like him in interviews. He's a very fun guy. He had some great interviews with Stephen Colbert. Mm-hmm. The one line I would say that, it seemed like, my point is it seemed like a waste of a guest appearance. It didn't really do anything. The one line I really liked was where he starts writing for the kids, and he's like, maybe I could add some counterpoint. And Krusty goes, no counterpoint. Right. Zippy, vamp, peppy.
Yeah.
And he's like yelling it because Sondheim's at the time was very not countercultural, like more experimental than typical musical numbers.
I don't know enough about musicals
he
weigh in.
He played with the format and advanced it and.
But I agree with you. The only funny point was the counterpoint thing.
I like Krusty just going no counterpoint. He's basically telling Sondheim to not do Sondheim and to do just like dumb straight up things. And even Sondheim's like, oh, maybe I will write that jingle for Buzz Cola. That made me laugh.
Yeah, I didn't love it.
It was good. Hey, good to see he's getting work. You know.
Yeah.
So they say Krusty wants the kids to go on the, I think it was the No Collar comedy tour. It was parody the Blue Collar comedy tour. I think the only person I remember, it was like Butt Crack Bill and Reverend Racist. These were like the comedians on the tour.
I guess instead of the cable guy,
Larry the Cable Guy,
and
Bill Engvall, Jeff Foxworthy, and something like
the one
Ron
I hate.
White.
He's
Ron
the one
White.
I hate the most.
He seems
like
not great. Yeah, like he seems like I was trying to get to
politically
not slander him.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
is that illegal for me to call him an asshole? Is that slander?
No, that's an opinion.
All right.
If you were like he raped his children.
Fact. He's an asshole.
But anyway, and then Andy Dick just shows up, and he's like, I'm blue collar. My dad owned a shovel. I think that was his only line.
Yeah, and why would he say I'm blue collar? Should he say I'm no collar?
What do you guys think of Andy Dick just in general?
Hit and miss. I like him.
He's Family Guy to you, hit or miss.
Yeah, for the most part, I think I like him.
I feel like he can be used well, but this was just like random. Yeah. I'm Andy. Why is Andy Dick here?
I think he tries too hard. I think when he doesn't try too hard,
yeah.
it can be very funny. He's very funny in the Ben Stiller Show.
News Radio.
I heard an interview with him on a podcast. It was pretty good. Seemed like he had a good.
You listening to other podcasts besides ours?
No. Guys, no, sorry.
Get out!
He wasn't on this podcast yet. Andy Dick, if you're listening, we'd love to get you on the show.
Also, Ron White.
Also, Ron White.
We'll take anybody.
Defend yourself.
No offense, Harry.
That's okay. I saw that Ron White T-shirt you had made.
We were glow in the dark Ron White T-shirt.
I knew where it was going.
Just in case. It's good. It's good to be prepared.
Yeah.
Then you have it.
Then just so you have it. And then. Yeah, the Brandine comes in a helicopter and says, Cletus can't sign that contract.
She doesn't just come in a helicopter. Apparently she was away
she was
war.
in Afghanistan,
I don't know if I missed a reference to that.
I don't know.
It makes sense. I kind of like that.
I checked out at this point, so.
I got to give him credit for finally doing a subtle joke that is subtle in that, like, there are like a lot of just hicks that join the army because the army actively recruits poor people and tries to get people into the army. And so it works for that reason. It also, she kind of looks like that woman that was part of the Abu Ghraib scandal where she took a picture like in front of the naked pyramids and stuff. Mm-hmm. I could see Brandine being that person. Yeah. So I like that. That was something.
It was something. We'll say that.
At one point you said, "Oh, the box factory's across from Krusty."
I did. I was going to say that. It was.
That's what Dan was focused on.
I was much more focused on the box factory, which was across the street, keeping continuity from Bart Gets Famous.
And then, before we get into the therapy plot, the episode as a whole ends where Cletus is only the father of two of the kids, and so the Krusty has no rights to them, and they're reverted back. And the two kids he is father to are no good. One can't sing, one can't ad-lib. So Krusty and Brandine make up and they kiss, and it's a Honeymooners parody where he goes, "Baby, you're the greatest," and then it pans up and there's a moon with Cletus's face. And what was the line? He said something. He said some line. It was just a very overt parody of the Honeymooners. And my question is why?
I have no idea.
What does that have to do with anything?
Did nothing for me.
Like
did nothing for Harry. If I can speak on Harry's behalf.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Wait, you got to put the Harry T-shirt on.
Okay,
we'll
just
here you go.
That's the noise, people.
Yeah,
that's the noise.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just a noise I make when I remove a T-shirt. I actually did lift up my shirt.
Crazy.
It does. Sorry, Jangle. When she takes a T-shirt off, she's like, it's the same noise. Because I couldn't think of another.
That's why you guys got married.
Yeah.
You on your first date, you're like, you do too?
Yeah, I was taking her shirt off, and she was like, and I was also like, I proposed then and there.
Oh, that's a very romantic story.
Yeah, thank you.
We should write a romantic comedy based on that and just call it the Dan and Jangle story.
I don't know. That's kind of scandalous. People taking their shirts off.
We'll throw in some cops in there. Sure. Spice it up. They kill everyone at your wedding.
All the children.
Batman and Hitler show up.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah. So why do this? Like the Simpsons have done non sequitur endings before that still were tied in. Like the end of Deep Space Homer has a random 2001 Space Odyssey parody.
Right, but Homer, at least when it's in space.
Yeah, it's thematic. Yeah, it makes sense.
Right.
I cannot for the life of me, maybe I'm missing something. I cannot understand what the Honeymooners has to do with the plot, and then why you would have Cletus and Brandine be. I don't know. I don't know how the Sound of Music ends. Maybe do some kind of.
It ends with the Honeymooners ending. You're right. I forgot.
That's where Jackie Gleason got it from.
Exactly. He took it from the Honeymooners. Well, if it made sense to any of our listeners, hop on our Reddit or something and let us know.
Yeah, tell us we're wrong.
Yeah.
Call us assholes.
I'm talking about you.
Downvote me into oblivion
Mike.
and say how much you like Hemus.
Mike, listening to this podcast, why don't you get on that Reddit and talk to us?
Gotta be a Mike listener.
You too, Steven. Arthur.
Incest.
If we have an Arthur, let us know.
Yeah,
I bet we don't.
honestly, there's a chance our numbers are low enough. There might not be an Arthur.
There might not be an Arthur. So Arthur, if you're out there, let us know.
Sorry, Harry feels bad. He's like, my numbers up. I definitely have an Arthur. Listen to my show.
He's great. I'll recommend this podcast.
Oh, thank you.
All right, we'll get a T-shirt made.
Our Arthur quotient is very low. So Homer is taking Bart to therapy. The therapist is played by Meg Ryan.
Because he got in trouble with the school with the Stanley story.
Right. The school is going to pay for 5 therapy sessions and 5 only. Homer drives him. I kind of like that Homer's willing to drive him because the therapist is across from a Chinese restaurant where Homer can go get drunk.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of, we actually see the Chinese restaurant owner and his wife, and they are speaking, they're like,
Very
oh,
American accents.
he's coming, we have to put on the act because he really likes it, and they go very stereotypical Chinese accents. What'd you guys think of that?
I think it was better than just having them have stereotypical Chinese accents.
I agree.
Yeah, it didn't do much for me. I didn't not like it. I wonder if it's tying into the idea of stereotypes again, way overthinking, giving the writers too much credit.
I mean, that was a little bit more, maybe not satirical, but it had a bit of a more message to it. Some more nuance than the hillbilly
There's
stuff.
something. I feel like something is being said about how we like to appropriate other cultures and dumb them down and for our own amusement. But
yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
But then Meg Ryan shows up. She's playing the therapist whose name, I think she was Dr. Swanson or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. This was the first time I'd heard Meg Ryan's voice in a long time.
What was the name of Marge's therapist?
Dr. Zweig.
All right, that's right. It wasn't
Bancroft.
It wasn't Swanson. Okay.
Yeah. So she's there, I never thought that I would hear Meg Ryan say "hot summer fart," and I never realized that I really wanted to hear that.
In Joe versus the Volcano.
She doesn't.
There's not one line where
she might say it in "You've Got Mail." I'll have to rewatch it, or in one of her other Tom Hanks movies. You had Joe versus the Volcano.
Yes, we know. You don't have to
You
listen.
had "You've Got Mail,"
Sleepless in
Seattle. That might have been it.
And hot summer fart.
And hot summer farts.
A Hanks Ryan joint.
Yep. Well, anyway, the hot summer fart thing came from a kind of an icebreaker type situation where she was trying to get Bart to open up. They were doing Mad Libs.
Yeah, Mad Libs are always funny.
Mad Libs are always funny.
They're good stuff.
But I liked that through the Mad Lib, Bart has a realization, and he says, "My dad never takes me on the merry-go-booger."
Yeah, that was fine. There's
I thought that
also
was
a good
funny.
line after they do the Mad Libs. Bart's like laughing, and he goes, "You can't make this stuff up." That's a funny line.
Yeah, right. So later on, we see more with Bart in therapy. He tells the therapist he had a crazy dream where the family was cartoon characters, and their success led to this propaganda network called Fox News.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that?
It was. I mean, if this episode is an episode that is about looking at The Simpsons as a show that perpetuates stereotypes or something, that's maybe an interesting other meta aspect, but I really think it was just a throwaway line to make fun of Fox News.
It was. I think it was more even just a throwaway meta of breaking the fourth wall joke.
Yeah.
It is an interesting idea because Simpsons and Married with Children definitely did keep
yeah,
Fox
they
from
built
going under.
Fox, yeah.
I mean, Rupert Murdoch was probably still going to be rich anyway and may have started a Fox News anyway. But it is kind of funny to think that The Simpsons caused Fox News.
I guess,
But again,
in a roundabout way.
I hate to vilify Fox News. I mean, they're a terrible network, but the world would still suck anyway if they weren't here.
Well, yeah.
We'd still would have had Jersey Shore and Trump.
This is a very pessimistic episode. Are you doing okay in 2016, Jack?
I don't know.
I know you pulled your vocal cord.
Playing All Dogs Go to Heaven really kind of shook me.
Yeah, it's a weird way to read
It's just killing dogs for entertainment. It's just. I mean,
So wait a minute. You actually have to kill the dog in the game?
You have
you
to
play
send
the
the dogs
murderer.
to heaven.
Right.
Yeah.
You think you're doing a good
You're
thing.
a cat with a gun.
Okay, I'm into this.
Yeah.
Like Bubsy. Remember Bubsy? That was a
No.
video game about a cat with a
I
gun.
thought it was on Entertainment Tonight.
He's a Celtics fan.
No.
We're just keeping all of this in. Just don't even edit this episode. Just release it.
We're gonna
Yes.
Harry's gonna need to do a separate podcast connecting all the dots.
Yeah, I'll do that. Oh, he did that motion again.
With the Piconism.
Yeah.
He's Piconing again, everybody. But yes, Bart leaves the therapist's office, and we see Apu and Snake come in. And I thought, oh, that's kind of a cute idea that they would come to couples counseling.
Yeah,
They're a couple in a way. Snake robs the Quickie Mart. And I thought, that's a cute visual. And then it wasn't just a visual. There was 30-ish seconds of actual scene.
I 100% agree. It's exactly the thought I had to go, oh, that's cute. That's a funny idea, them Snake and Apu.
Right.
But the longer you stay there, besides it not being funny,
Right.
the longer you realize it makes zero sense.
Yes, and
Apu is upset that he's not being burglarized.
Right. It very quickly turns into the common sexual problem. We used to do it 2 to 3 times a week, but now I'm lucky if he robs me once a month. Well, he never initiates.
Yeah, and even doing a dumb metaphor like that could work, but it doesn't make sense in any reality. It's not grounded at all because Apu would not want to be robbed more often. At least they've played with this idea for a long time. There's an early classic episode where he's happy that Snake used the soft rope on his hands.
Right.
Or maybe it was Sideshow Bob. Maybe it wasn't even Snake.
I think it was Snake.
Well, anyway. Apu was like, yeah, he used a soft rope. It was very
silky.
that's a little over the top, but it still kind of makes sense. If you're going to be tied up, you want to be a little bit more comfortable.
Sure.
Whereas you wouldn't actively want to be robbed more often.
Well, I feel like they have done things like this before about this like weird relationship between Apu and Snake.
But the more you linger on it, the more it
just wasn't.
doesn't hold.
It just wasn't funny. Why are you giving like 30 whole seconds to this not funny bit?
Yeah, it's time they could be singing, guys.
You know what, Harry? You're right. I'm looking on the bright side. It could have been a song. They could have been like, he only robs me once a month.
That's counterpoint.
Yeah, there you go. I'm a regular Sondheim.
So Bart,
so
so basically, it's a shame. Like we said, this could have been a great plot. There's no meat on the story bone. It just the idea of Bart going to therapy is a great concept that they could have explored.
Right.
It really should have had a full episode because he obviously is troubled. The idea, and just even there's probably parodies you can do with child psychologists in general.
Yeah, well, it goes to an interesting place where the school only paid for 5 sessions, and Bart kind of grows to like it and has this relationship with the psychiatrist. And then once the 5 sessions are up, they can't afford to do any more, and it's kind of like he's been broken up with. And they kind of treat it that way as if it was a romantic relationship. Like a breakup.
I didn't quite care for that. I like the idea of Bart actually seeing the benefits of therapy and wanting to stick with it.
Yeah.
And like getting pleasure out of it or satisfaction out of it.
Right.
That was a very interesting concept.
It was an interesting. I didn't expect the story to go in that direction and to treat it that way. So I was
maybe
kind
that's
of
why
into
they
it.
cast Meg Ryan to make it more romantic.
Wow. Meg Ryan.
I'll analyze what she's analyzing.
Oh boy.
You've got mail in your pants. Boner mail. No, cut that.
No, leave that in.
All right, Harry says leave it in.
Harry has final cut. I don't know why we give our guest final cut, but Ron White, if you're listening, you get final cut. And a T-shirt.
There was a dumb line I liked when Bart was like missing his therapist. He was like, maybe I tell people not to have a cow because I really want them to have a cow.
See, there's definitely like broader psychiatry tropes you could play with there. I like it. And when you go to a child psychologist, that is a thing where they'll give you some games to play, some like really broad games, like let's play Uno, so even just you get that video game parody out of that, but even that is commenting. Like there's jokes to mine. I wish they had done more with it, and I wish they had done more with that broader trope, and I wish they would have done more with Bart's psyche and what is Bart like in psychiatry? What does he get? The fact that he likes it is great. That's a great little character beat.
This should have been a full episode.
And that's really all we can say is that it just wasn't enough, and it just left me wanting more. It just left me lacking.
It left Bart wanting more too. So Marge pays for another session.
This is one of the few lines in the second and third acts that made me chuckle, where she goes, "I've been saving this money for Homer's breast reduction."
Oh, right.
That was
okay.
That got a chuckle out of me. And then this plot, like the Spuckler plot, also ends with a really weird non sequitur that I didn't like.
This was not as weird.
Well, so it's okay. It's not as weird in that
this one made some amount of sense.
It made some sense. So Meg Ryan's
at least the show was
character
on the air at this point.
I guess she's upset that she had to say goodbye to Bart. She also took it as a breakup.
Well, yeah, they kind of subvert it where now Bart seems to have gotten closure in this one last session, but she wants more sessions
so that
and
makes
doesn't
no
get
sense.
them.
That's stupid. It's bad character writing. It didn't lead up to that at all.
It's just to get to this.
There's a line that you guys, I think, talked over and didn't hear that explains...
That never happens, Harry.
Where she goes, this is why I'm... what's the line?
So the psychiatrist is Peter...
Bogdanovich,
yeah.
The joke being that in The Sopranos, he is the psychiatrist
that Dr. Melfi goes
Dr.
to.
Melfi, the main Tony's psychiatrist, goes to. He's the psychiatrist.
Yeah,
right.
That's the joke. That's why Peter Bogdanovich is there.
Yeah.
So there's a line where he goes, well, do you think that you're so upset because Bart is replacing your son, who was killed by Dark Stanley?
Yeah, no,
what?
I heard that. I picked up on that, and then
Wait.
So it ends with her like curling up into a ball and crying.
Yeah,
I did not hear that line. That changes everything.
And
what does that mean?
And then the French music comes in and everything.
Yeah.
It's just a.
Guys, did Bart kill the psychiatrist's son and say it was Dark Stanley?
I think that's what it was.
Okay, I think this was all an elaborate ruse by Bart to do something. I don't know. He came up with Dark Stanley, killed the psychiatrist's son, and then did the lunch plot.
That would explain why he needs 5 sessions of therapy.
That would definitely explain it.
Yeah, 5 is not enough.
Okay, well, I definitely missed that line.
Yeah,
but I actually liked Peter Bogdanovich showing up.
So the point of that line, I think, was basically just to have this really silly ending. And to end like on it's a cute little button to end. You got the Dark Stanley music playing again and her crying, but it doesn't really make sense. And yes, Peter Bogdanovich was a fun guest star, and it makes sense in The Sopranos, but we weren't following this character whatsoever. She was not in any scenes that didn't involve Bart or Snake and Apu.
Right.
Like, there's no really reason to follow her to another scene. I just it all felt very pointless to me.
I
You're
agree,
right.
it's
Not
pointless.
as pointless as The Honeymooners, and at least it's thematically connected, unlike The Honeymooners ending.
Right.
The Sopranos is a nice little meta weird joke to have Peter Bogdanovich.
Yeah.
But it just once we cut to that scene, it's like I don't give a shit about Meg Ryan's character. I don't want to see this. And then her son being killed by Dark Stanley is a funny little button, but again, I just didn't care.
Child death is always funny, as we all know. I especially know that. But I thought why it maybe didn't work is that clearly should have been the last scene in the episode. And I thought it was. I thought the episode was ending. I was like, oh, that's a cute little button. They brought in Peter Bogdanovich to do the Sopranos thing. End of episode. And it didn't. It cut back to the hillbilly plot, which I fucking
would have
hated.
been more relevant if then Peter Bogdanovich, when Meg Ryan starts crying over her dead son, he grabs her and he kisses her and says, "Baby, you're the greatest," and it pans up to a moon with Peter Bogdanovich's face in it.
They should have done
I think that would have made a lot of sense to end this episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Read it back, read it back.
The county fair is always sucky to visit on a hot summer fart. You can eat delicious cotton hate and ride the Ferris burp and the merry-go booger.
Oh, you can't make that stuff up.
So that's it for Yokel Chords. It is now time to rank this episode, and to do that, we're going to be looking at our Hippo scale. We're looking at the humor, the integrity, the production values, and the originality of this episode. We're going to rank each of those things 0 to 5 on our scale, our patented scale, and see where it ranks in all of the episodes we have watched. Jack, could you put 2 minutes on that clock?
Beep, beep, beep.
Okay, so here we go. Humor of this episode. We'll start with Harry. What do you got? 0 to 5.
He's giving me a 0 on my beaten joke. I can tell with his face.
Does this count as time? I don't know. It wasn't super funny. Maybe a 2.5. There's some giggles. I had some giggles.
There were some giggles.
I
think it started strong-ish. There were a couple of laughs, and I was like, "Ooh, maybe this episode will be good." That quickly changed. Not even before the first act was over, I was like, "Ooh."
Yeah, there was very few times I laughed in this episode, and what I did like about the first act was pretty much the Dark Stanley stuff, which wasn't funny.
Right.
Yeah.
I was gonna give it a 1, but then you had me thinking, it's like, all right, the Patterson jokes. There were a couple things I chuckled at.
I don't like James Patterson as an author. I don't dislike him either, but I really thought the James Patterson stuff was all very
so
funny.
I'll give it a 1.5 thanks to James Patterson's a little extra credit.
Yeah, I'm also going to go 1.5. I think.
Guys, drop me down to a 2. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, Harry, thank you.
I know it's
Beep,
very
boop,
important.
beep, boop,
Thank
beep.
you.
And Harry,
noise.
please stop interrupting so much. Okay, the integrity of this episode. Harry, what do you got?
I mean, it was a parody.
It certainly was.
Book jacket cover right there. It was a parody. Harry Nelson.
I mean, it's not bad. Well, I'm trying to think. Does this episode make sense?
I use the integrity category mostly for are the characters acting like themselves,
Right.
and everybody was. Yeah, I would give it a 2.5.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Bart in therapy. If anything, I would want to give it a little bit more, but I feel like they missed opportunity. They could have given Bart more in that plot, and they didn't. I could maybe go to a 3 because I do really like the idea of Bart actually appreciating therapy once he warms up to it.
Yeah, I'm just
But
going to say
that's it.
2.5, right in the middle, because I have no strong opinion one way or the other.
I might go 3.
I'm saying 2 because they stayed really true to Dr. Swanson's character.
There you go. They did. They really did. Okay,
Her son was murdered.
that's true. What does that have to do with staying true to her character? Okay, the production values of the episode. Harry.
I really liked the Dark Stanley stuff was really well
Definitely,
done.
very strong.
And you know all the songs had my toes tapping, so I'm gonna go with a 2.5.
Yeah, I don't know, Jack. What are you thinking here?
I was ready to give it a 4 because I really like the music and the animation of the Dark Stanley stuff. I like the James Patterson opening, the dream sequence. I was really ready to give it a 4, but I think production is where I would take points away for the musical numbers because they weren't very well produced. So it sucks
True.
because my favorite parts of the episode are in the same category as my least favorite parts.
I think I'm going to ding the musical aspect in the originality, and I'm actually going to go slightly above average, would go 3 on this episode.
That's
because of the Dark
kind of
Stanley.
breaking our rules and our categories, but I like that because I really do want to give props to the Dark Stanley, so I will do the same.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 3.5.
All right. And finally, the originality. Harry.
As a parody, wasn't super original.
No, it was not.
And also, I had another point, but I forgot what it was.
Okay, moving on. Jack. We'll come back to you, Harry.
Yeah, you should go.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, I thought this was really two plots. I liked the Bart plot. I thought it worked reasonably well. I think it could have worked even better as its own story and just got the Lisa stuff, because the Lisa stuff did not work for me at all.
Yeah.
0 for the Lisa stuff, especially the musical stuff. I'm going to give this episode a 1.5, which is kind of my missed opportunity score.
Okay.
'Cause I like the idea of Bart and therapy, but I don't think they did enough with it.
Harry, still ruminating?
Yeah, even the Dark Stanley stuff was a ripoff of a previous Treehouse of Horror plot.
Yeah,
That's a very good point. So I will ding it down to a
Well,
1.
I wasn't.
Nope.
The stuff I liked about Dark Stanley
Harry?
wasn't the story point. It wasn't the story of Dark Stanley. It was the production, the animation.
1.
I really like the idea of Bart going to therapy. That's a great plot. I wouldn't even mind the idea of the Spuckler Kids having a Sound of Music parody, but neither of these were done right. I think the Bart therapy failed more than, like Dan says, it needed more. I think it didn't have anything. I wouldn't say it was done poorly. It just, to me, it's like a flat 0. It's not negative. It's just they did nothing with it, except for maybe the one idea that Bart likes it. So I really want to give it points for the originality of these story ideas, but I also just said I boosted the production, and I'm siphoning points from the originality. This is going to have to be really low. I'm going to go 1.
Okay, so we have crunched our numbers, and Yokel Chords from Season 18 has ranked as a slightly better episode than Donnie Fatso and a slightly worse episode than Treehouse of Horror 22, which, interestingly enough, also featured a Sondheim parody. Well, this wasn't a Sondheim parody. This featured Sondheim.
Right.
That featured a Sondheim parody, so it's nice that they're next to
Yeah,
each other
yeah.
on the list. And this,
Both like, Treehouse of Horror 22, if I remember, was very, very, very painfully bland. Whereas at this one, the therapy was very bland.
Yeah.
I don't have a point to make.
so Yokel Chords is number 34 on our current list.
All right.
So there that is. And I think that about does it for this episode of Worst Episode Ever. If you guys have a terrible episode you'd like to suggest,
Or a good one.
much like our suggestors who suggested this episode, you can go to our website. It's weepodcast.com. That's weepodcast.com. And there's a form there you can fill out. It's easiest if you do that. Some people have been tweeting episodes. It's easier. Just use the form, guys. It's so much easier because I'm not keeping track of this crap anymore. It's all automated. We're using Google Docs here. But while you're on that website, click through that Amazon link. Like we said at the top of the show, that helps keep the show free. Help us get new microphones. You guys have been really, really
Check
good.
out our sync points, Home Alone 2, and The Simpsons movie.
Yes, that's also available on the website, and our Facebook, our Reddit, our Twitter, all of that stuff, weepodcast.com.
And just follow our social media. We'll probably be doling out a little bit of 90s percentile information about our new podcast as we lead up to the big late January release.
Yeah, and guys, give us good reviews. If you haven't done that yet and you do like this show, give us a review on iTunes. That helps us out. We haven't gotten any reviews in a long time.
Yeah.
And I feel like that...
So we're
I
begging.
feel a crushing
so now
weight.
We need to beg for good reviews.
We're not begging. We're
Harry,
just saying...
Did you give us a good review?
if you
on
haven't
social?
reviewed
I give you
yet...
a bunch. I made a bunch of iTunes accounts, and I encourage
Are they
you to
all
do the
you?
same thing. Yeah.
Very good, very good. So do that if you haven't, and recommend the show if you think people will like it.
Don't recommend it to any police officers, please.
Oh God, no.
Not the police, or
Not because I think less of them. I just don't want them to. Well, never mind.
recommend it to your police officer friends and your non-police officer friends. And Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia, if you're listening to this the day it comes out, it's tonight in Brooklyn. So come on out. I co-host that with Dan Ozzie, friend of the show. Google Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia for more information about that.
Harry, you gonna be
and
there?
about other shows.
Maybe.
There's a bunch. There's one in Detroit. There's one in Toronto. There's one in Chicago. Google it. I'm tired of saying all these fucking cities
Yeah,
every
we know,
time. We know.
We know.
Okay, but we are going to be coming back next week with another episode from season 24. Season 24 episode
boy.
is called The Saga of Carl.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Oh, that's exciting.
The Saga of Carl Carlson. So I have no idea what that is. I've never seen it.
I'm assuming it's Carl centric,
I'm assuming it's Carl-centric also.
unless it's about Carl Winslow. Steve.
You turned into the new Doctor, Steve. Did I do that? That's Harry's confused.
No,
but
I know what you're trying to do.
It's just, isn't it weird? Like what comes out of his mouth sometimes? Like, where's the dots? Connect the dots.
Oh God.
Harry, thank you for joining us and being our guest again today. Where can people find your show?
My podcast, Harry Says Yes, is available at harrysays.yes.com. I also recommend following me on Twitter.
some good reviews too.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares?
Not as many as us, though.
Yeah, but I'm on Twitter at HC Nelson. A lot of fun tweets over there. Please check it out. Review me on Twitter as well.
Okay, I'm gonna review you on Twitter when we're done recording.
Good job, Harry.
So thanks for joining us, Harry. We'll be back next time. And Harry, how do we always close the show?
Cut all this.
Tell you what, just give me a peppy vamp.
Okay, and I can counterpoint it with...
No counterpoint! Vamp! Peppy!
Hey, this peppy stuff isn't bad. Maybe I will write that jingle for Buzz Cola. President or Ayatollah, everyone loves new Buzz Cola. With lemon